On November 2, 2020, at around 1 p.m., 83-year-old Paulette Landrieu vanished from her home in Andon, Belgium. At the time, her husband was hanging laundry in the garden and didn't notice her absence until later that afternoon. When Paulette's family realized she was missing, they promptly reported it to the police, initiating a significant search for her. This wasn't the first time Paulette had gone missing. She suffered from Alzheimer's disease and often wandered off without telling her husband. She was known to knock on neighbors' doors for no apparent reason, and in the years leading up to her disappearance, she no longer recognized her children or husband. Each time she had wandered off before, her husband had managed to find her just a short distance from home. But this time was different. She was nowhere to be found. The search involved 50 police officers, multiple search and rescue dogs, thermal imaging helicopters, and a fleet of drones, but they found no clues. After several weeks, the search was called off, and the family feared she had fallen into the nearby Meuse River. In October 2022, just as the police were about to close the case, an investigator stumbled upon a shocking discovery while searching Google Street View. He found an image of Paulette leaving her home and heading toward her neighbor's house. This led to the case being reopened, and authorities returned to the area, where they ultimately found Paulette's body at the bottom of a hill beneath the neighbor's garden. An autopsy revealed that she had fallen from an unguarded section of the garden and died shortly after the tragic event, eerily captured by the Google Street View car as she walked in a confused state, likely due to her Alzheimer's. It's perplexing how the police failed to spot her during their initial search with drones and helicopters, but at least her family can find some closure, despite the haunting last image of her alive. Today, if you visit that location on Google Maps, you'll find the image has been replaced by a more current view. One night in October 2006, a 72-year-old man named David Lee Niles visited Jake's Bar in Byron Township, Michigan. A regular patron, he typically stayed for several hours. However, on that night, after a brief conversation with a friend, he abruptly left, citing intense physical pain from cancer, which he had been diagnosed with earlier that year. That was the last time anyone saw him. When his family couldn't reach him, they reported him missing, prompting a statewide search that yielded no results. By 2011, 5 years after his disappearance, the family had lost hope and published an obituary stating that only God knew the time and place of his passing. The case remained cold until nearly a decade later, when a significant development occurred. In November 2015, Brian Hausman, an employee at a local funeral home, was decorating a Christmas tree when he spotted something in a nearby pond that looked like a submerged car. He promptly contacted the police. Using Google Maps, authorities confirmed the outline of a vehicle at the bottom of the pond. A dive team was dispatched, and upon retrieving the car, they discovered the skeletal remains of a man along with David Lee Niles' wallet. After confirming the remains were his, David's family finally found some closure, though many questions remain about the circumstances of his death. Before his cancer diagnosis, David had struggled with severe depression, which likely worsened after learning about his illness. It's possible he took his own life, but the truth may never be fully known. In July 2011, two armed individuals broke into an empty house in a quiet suburb of Oklahoma City. The two men quickly began stealing valuables, but their spree was cut short when the homeowner returned and found them in her house. Instead of fleeing, the intruders held her at gunpoint while they continued to ransack the place. The ordeal lasted over an hour, with the woman fearing for her life. Thankfully, the robbers left without harming her. After the incident, the woman chose not to disclose her identity to the press, fearing retaliation from the thieves. She reported the robbery to the police, but with no witnesses and limited leads, the case eventually went cold. 3 years later, in July 2014, her neighbor was using Google Maps Street View when she spotted two men walking down the street who closely matched the suspects' descriptions. She texted the homeowner, who confirmed that these were indeed the men who had robbed her, captured moments before the crime by the Google Street View car. Unfortunately, the images were too blurry for the police to make a definitive identification, but the evidence provided them with a better chance to pursue the suspects. In the 80s and 90s, Joaquin Gamino was one of Italy's most wanted gangsters, involved with a Sicilian mafia clan in Agento. Arrested for murder and other crimes in 1984, he was released shortly after. In 1998, he was captured in Barcelona and sentenced to life in prison. However, he escaped in 2002 during a prison disturbance and relocated to a town near Madrid, changing his name to Manuel Mormino. For 20 years, he evaded capture, getting married, working as a chef, and running a fruit and vegetable shop. In 2014, Sicilian police issued a European arrest warrant for him, suspecting he was hiding in Spain. They made a surprising discovery when they found a Google Maps image showing two men outside Mormino's shop. One man bore a striking resemblance to Gamino. Further investigation into the restaurant's Facebook page confirmed his identity, leading to his arrest on December 17, 2022. He was extradited to Sicily, where he is now serving life in prison. Upon his arrest, he expressed confusion about how he was found, despite having not contacted his family in 10 years. In a separate incident in Derbyshire, England, David and Rebecca Soanes purchased a caravan in 2009 for traveling, but it was soon destroyed by a joyrider. They replaced it with a $155,000 caravan, which was parked in their driveway. In June of that year, Rebecca returned home to find it missing and promptly reported the theft. With no leads, the case quickly went cold. However, in March 2010, 11-year-old Ruben discovered something while exploring his house on Google Maps Street View. He found an image of a suspicious man standing outside their driveway next to a 4x4 vehicle just moments before the caravan was stolen. A neighbor also recalled seeing a man towing the caravan that day but thought he was a family friend. Despite having a clear image of the suspect, it proved challenging for police to obtain an unblurred photo of the 4x4's license plate from Google. Though they had a description of the thief, it remains unclear whether they were ever able to track him down. Switzerland was conducting an investigation to dismantle illegal marijuana cultivation throughout the country. At one point, they utilized Google Earth to identify the addresses of 2 farmers suspected of involvement in these operations. During this process, one detective made a noteworthy discovery. While examining the area around Rapperswil in the northeastern state of Thurgau, he observed an unusual alteration in the field patterns. Upon zooming in, he identified what appeared to be a cannabis plantation spanning over 2 acres, cleverly concealed within a cornfield adjacent to one of the farmers' homes. This finding ultimately resulted in the arrest of 16 individuals and the seizure of 1.1 metric tons of marijuana, along with 900,000 Swiss francs in cash, roughly equivalent to $1.1 million. According to police reports, the drug ring reportedly sold up to 7 tons of marijuana between 2004 and 2008, generating annual revenues ranging from 3 to 10 million francs. When asked about the breakthrough, Norbert Glossner, head of Zurich Police's Special Narcotics Unit, described it as an intriguing chance discovery. Since then, the cannabis plantation has been plowed over, as recreational marijuana remains illegal in Switzerland.